Hello, welcome to Real Talk. I'm your host Paul Britton. I am here to review some movies. Today we have some a couple of horror movies on opposite ends of the horror spectrum. Oh, that's not I thought I edited that. The two movies I'll be reviewing today are on opposite ends of the horror spectrum. We've got The Exorcist Believer, and we have a new Amazon Prime original movie called Totally Killer. And so we will be covering both of those movies today. First, though, I thought it would be fun to kind of go over my history with the Exorcist movies. Now, I have very frequently on if you're a semi-frequent listener of this here podcast, I have very frequently discussed how The Exorcist is my favorite horror movie and that I'm not the biggest horror movie guy. Reality is that I don't like slasher movies. They just don't do it for me for whatever reason. It's just not my cup of tea. But hey, other people like them. That's fine, great. I'm happy for them. For me, uh no. I'll take zombie movies. I like zombie movies a lot, and I will always every day take possession movies, and those are my favorite favorite horror movies. I will always the floor for possession movies is really high. Like, you give me a possession movie right off the bat, you're probably at like 3 tacos to just for showing up and having people talking in voices that are not their own and just getting really bad skin and weird eyes like that. I'm already in, like, okay, awesome, let's do this. Which is why I was able to probably tolerate the Pope's Exorcist early this year. But my first ever so I either my first movie was either The Omen, that my first horror movie was either The Omen or The Exorcist. I don't know which came first, but the thing that I remember the most about The Exorcist is that I was probably 13 years old. It was approaching Halloween time. My brother had just went out and got his first job, and I'm alone. I'm home alone at the time, and Joe Pesci's trying to get in the house. No, I'm kidding. And it's dark, and The Exorcist is coming on. I was like, oh, I think I'll watch this movie. And I had seen it. Full disclosure, I had seen it already, and my dad showed it to us when I was like 8 or 9, something ridiculously inappropriately young. But this was like, I want to watch this on my own. This was the first time for me as a rewatch, and I it it did the job. Let's just say that it did the job, and I was scared out of my pants. But it's such a good movie. The thing about The Exorcist is that it is such a good film. Like, there's just no ways around it. It's not, yes, it's a ridiculously scary movie. Yes, it is a quintessential, absolutely required, top of the list horror movie, but it's really good. Like, as a movie, like, not just, oh, well, it's pretty good for a horror movie. No, it's fantastic for any movie. Like, I don't understand. Like, Exorcist should have definitely been in the running for Best Picture. Like, it's that good of a movie, and it's so unique and stylized. And then I didn't see Exorcist 2, and then Exorcist 3 comes out in the theaters. I'm probably like 14, 15, and I The Exorcist 3 has the scariest jump scare in the history of film. Like, there's just, you can't watch this movie with the lights on. You can't watch this movie uh with a cell phone because you might miss the jump scare. It's really subtle. It's totally unexpected, and it just scared the shit out of me. It's probably the most scared I've ever been in a movie theater, and no, it's definitely the most scared I've ever been in a movie theater, and it's got George C. Scott in it, so, that's awesome, I haven't been in on, from the Exorcist franchise, I haven't been on any of the more recent, episodes since, Exorcist 3, but I was super excited to hear that they were coming out with, that Blumhouse was doing, a reboot and their own deal. And, the reason why is because I feel like Blumhouse really understands how to appreciate what came before and give the fans of the the prior series is something that they enjoy, while also just doing something brand new and interesting and different. In that regard, I feel like Blumhouse is the A24 of just schlocky horror. I guess maybe one of the problems might be Exorcist is a schlocky horror. Uh, anyway, but here we are, and but I was excited. I was excited for The Exorcist Believer, and the thing as I'm watching The Exorcist Believer, the thing that I realized was that yes, Linda Blair is really important, and yes, her mom is Ellen Burstyn is really important. But man, that movie doesn't work at all without 100% buy-in and 100% uh caring about the Exorcist characters, because in reality Linda Blair is in essence a MacGuffin for these two priests that are the main characters. I mean that's really I don't mean to that by saying Linda Blair's the MacGuffin, I'm not criticizing her acting abilities because she's amazing in the movie. I am not belittling the role. I am just simply saying that that if you think about the Exorcist movie, I mean, we spend so much time with Father Karras, and understanding his doubts and under and we spend so much time with. I mean, the first character that we see that's in the movie for more than one scene is Max von Snowden, and his basically the expert, and they're so important, and they have to be important, and they have to you have to be in on their part of it, because if you're not in on their part of it, the journey just doesn't totally work. And that brings us to The Exorcist Believer, where it's awesome that they bring back Ellen Burstyn. I can't say this enough. And One of the movies that we did last week when Sergio was on, I did for my "What the hell did I just watch" segment, was Xanadu, and I commented how it's really important that when the script, when you have a script, you identify the characters that are driving the show. And the number one problem with Xanadu, the reason why it's a bad movie, is because they focus on this completely losery struggling artist that is just really difficult to care about. And and the problem here with The Exorcist Believer is that not that the father of one of the two girls who gets possessed isn't compelling, because he's actually a really good character. There's just not enough around him to keep the whole movie interesting. There's just it just the exorcism scenes just don't quite cut it, because I don't care about the neighbor nurse character as much as they want me to. I don't care about the kooky neighbor that kind of believes in voodoo. Uh, and then they kind of want me to. I don't care about the parents of the other kid, and I don't know that they want us to. Like, they successfully make me not care about them. So yeah, this is I'm giving it a negative review thus far, because it's not great. It's not the best exorcism movie I would say of this year. Um, but it's certainly the best Exorcist movie of the franchise, The Exorcist, probably that I've seen. Although I haven't seen many of those other ones, so that's probably the problem. Look, the reality is that Exorcist Believer has some really good things going on, but ultimately, the lack of strong characters means that I'm yeah, just you get to that third act and you're supposed to be like, oh, this is gonna, and it just they do some things and they don't. There's just not enough. There's just not enough, and that's ultimately the problem with Exorcist, the Exorcist Believer, and it's been getting bad reviews. And I hope they don't stop their design to do 3 films, because I'll go to all of them because I still enjoyed this movie. I still sat there and was like, okay, well, I'm being entertained. I just didn't love it, and I barely liked it. And I said earlier that my floor for possession movies is is 3 tacos. Just for those who don't know, here at Real to Real Talk, we do a taco scale for movies, much like stars, but instead of stars, it's tacos. And if we feel like the movie deserves a little extra, because who's ever eaten a half a fucking taco, you add guac, because there are no half tacos. That just doesn't happen. So but this one's not getting any walk. This is getting 3 tacos. This is I hope people who love the original Exorcist, and there's lots and lots and lots of them, but I hope the people who love the original Exorcist go and see this movie. I want it to do well, but I also want them to make a better movie. So, if that means that not as many people go see it as they would like, then good. But but that results in a better second movie, great. That's a good thing. The other movie I'm doing is Totally Killer, which is out on Amazon Prime right now. It is a horror comedy. Now this one leans into the slasher genre that I was sort of mentioning earlier that I'm not a huge fan of. Um and as such, the horror elements of this movie I'm not a huge fan, but this movie does something interesting, and I'm stealing this from about infinity number of different websites and commentators and podcasters and whatnot that I've listened to over the past week mention this movie, where it takes your slasher film and says this movie is for people, fans of slasher films, who feel like the one thing their slasher films are missing is Back to the Future, or vice versa, says the one thing that the Back to the Future movie is missing is more carnage. And so that's what Totally Killer is. And it the premise is that there is a small town in oh boy, I knew that state. I think it's Oregon. It doesn't matter. Honestly, it doesn't matter. There's a small town where 30 years ago, no, 25, 20 20 years, oh shit, I can't think of how many years ago. We'll say 20 years ago because it was 1980 something. So we'll say 20 years ago. No, that would have been 40. That's the fucked up thing. I can't ever remember how long ago the 80s were. So I'm so fucking old. 40 years ago, there was around Halloween time, there was a serial killing of 3 young women, high school girls, and it's it's just like a known thing in this town that this guy was the killer, and so it has become like almost like a touristy thing in the town, very similar to the hometown of where Scream takes place. It's like very understood and popular that this thing happened here. And one of the survivors, or two of the survivors, not survivors as much as residents, were friends with the girls that got killed, is the mother and father of the protagonist of this movie. And I can't believe I didn't have it queued up because I don't remember their name. But and so what happens is that the uh Jamie is the girl. So what happens is that Jamie is Jamie's mom, like the serial killer comes back and Jamie's mom is killed. And so Jamie's best friend has built a time machine out of a photo booth, and she she travels back in time to before the murders to stop the original killing so that uh the guy who comes back to kill her mom uh it doesn't isn't able to complete his quest. So here's the thing is it's actually a really funny movie. So that's where I'm taking a long way. I'm doing a big describe on and a long way to get to. This is a really fucking funny movie. Like I was really surprisingly enjoying. I love the first two acts of this movie. The when they get back into the 80s, it really picks up. It's really funny. The just the all of the crazy things that the child of the 2020s has to kind of adjust to with her, with going back into the 80s and just like, eh, oh, you're new to this school? Sure. Come on. Here's your schedule. Oh, like you don't need evidence or proof of anything. You just everybody just said anything what you want, and it's just like okay, cool. Everybody trusts everybody. Everything's open. You just go to the airport. You get on a plane. As somebody who grew up in the 80s, I've thoroughly enjoyed all of the how fucked up was everything in the 80s jokes. They were fantastic. Then the third act hits and we get into they have to actually move forward with the slasher stuff and resolving the thing. I wasn't the biggest fan of the third act, but I really did love the first two acts. Genuinely enjoyed them. I got a really big kick out of them. The time travel stuff is so absurd and delightfully so. And they even, make a call out. It's like, oh, I hadn't seen, so somebody says, oh, I haven't seen Back to the Future yet. I just, the time travel never works in movies. And it's like, and it's funny because I love when movies are just kind of totally in the know and like, yeah, guess what? It's not going to work here either. But the movie does work. Totally Killer on Amazon Prime gets 3 tacos plus guac. I really had fun with it. I think anybody who grew up in the 80s, this is a must see for anybody who grew up in the 80s. And if you're the child of somebody who grew up in the 80s, you should watch it just to kind of understand where we're coming from when Gen Xers talk about how, look, we kind of had to do everything on our own. Guess what? We kind of had to do everything on our own. And that's okay. Like earlier I mentioned, I just, was home alone at, on a random weekday night and watched The Exorcist with the lights all turned out. And I got through the whole movie and nobody came home, So that's just the shit that went down in the 80s, and that's okay. But go check out Totally Killer on Prime and you'll understand. You'll have a better understanding. So that's all I got for you today. I'm really excited about next week. I'm going to be watching a whole crap ton of movies that have come out on streamers over the last 3 or 4 weeks that I haven't picked up on. Primarily because I am not going to a movie theater this weekend with all those Swifties. God bless you. I hope that everybody who goes to see the Taylor Swift concert in a movie theater this weekend just has the best time ever and comes with friendship bracelets and it's just a wonderful atmosphere. And I hope you all have fun. I support you. I speak your names. I want you to love your experience. I am not going to be there because it's not my experience to experience. It's not for me, and that's okay. And I like Taylor Swift, but going to see the concert in a theater, not happening at all. Forget it. So I'm staying home and watching streamers this weekend. So just come on back. The one I'm most looking forward to is the brand new Wes Anderson short films that are on Netflix. So if you want to do some homework and catch those, you can. There's also another one called Reptile that came out recently. I think that came out this past weekend. Check that out. I was hoping to have VHS 85 for you today, but I for some reason I couldn't find it. It was supposed to come out this past weekend, but for whatever reason it wouldn't play on my Shudder account. So I'm gonna try to work that out. I got stuff planned, yo. So come on out. Check it out. So that's it for Real Talk for this week. I will see you next week. I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye.